Okay, so previously when we first started covering Percy Shelley's The Revolt of Islam, we learned that the first stanza in the poem that you see on your screen, number one, reveals an amazing revelation. If you know deep theology, we could discern that to Mary is referring to the Virgin Mary, who in our Bibles spiritually represents the kingdom on the earth, the virgin earth. But it also represents Mary of Magdala, okay? The Tower of Magdala, the church itself. And so essentially what we could get from this poem right off the bat, if we can discern that, is that the Virgin Mary and Mary the Magdalene are essentially spiritually one. So in essence what that tells us, in the future kingdom, it's God's will for the entire earth to become the church, to convert people into the church. Okay, so we've covered that in the past, and we've also covered when reading into these verses that Percy Shelley wrote, Mary is ascribed, it's an image of the Apostle John who's writing this, and as to his queen, some victor knight of fairy, earning bright spells for her enchanted dome. So we'll eventually, I covered this before in apocryphal texts of Mary of Magdalene. It says after she repents, she'll become a great woman who despises all the things of the world and with supernatural abilities. So this is telling us that not only the church, but the earth itself will be like a fairy tale, essentially a fairy tale with enchanted spoils and all that kind of stuff. So really, okay, so we've covered this in the past. Now, this is why I'm making this video. I want to show you this is confirmed in Doctrine and Covenants 63:20 through 21. It's really, verse 20 talks about the day of transfiguration, a prophetic day of transfiguration. That's the first time I've ever heard this term in the scriptures, but with all the revelations we're getting in these last days, we definitely know that is true. There's going to be a day of transfiguration. So let's read verse 21 with Jesus. These are the words of Christ, what he says about that. When the earth shall be transfigured, even according to the pattern which was shown unto my apostles upon the mount of which account the fullness you have not yet received. So in other words, this is saying there are scriptures and stories about the Mount of Transfiguration that have been edited out of our Bibles that will be restored onto us. Amazing, amazing. And so, as we could discern in Percy Shelley's poem, we could get some hints into that. Now, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's prophesied in the hymns of thanksgiving that we shall inherit all the glory of Adam and abundance of days. Okay? Now, special thanks to Mark Twain's translations of the diaries of Adam and Eve. We get to learn what life was really like with Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve had to learn from scratch just their basic senses, and everything was new and innocent, and they were riding on dinosaurs and stuff. And actually, in Genesis 1, verse 21, in the Standard King James, it says, "And God created great whales and every living creature that moves, which the waters bring forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good." Okay, so this was the fifth day of creation. But when we look up the meaning of that name whales, it really means sea monsters. So we know the sea in our Bible is spiritually the devil's kingdom. So this doesn't necessarily mean great whales that swim in the sea. This actually can mean dinosaurs. So we actually see this in Genesis 1, verse 21. And this confirms what we read of in the diaries of Adam and Eve, that they're riding on dinosaurs and life is nothing but a fairy tale. So absolutely amazing. I just wanted to show you that this stuff is, we get even more insight in Doctrine and Covenants 63, verse 20 through 21, that there's a revelation for the day of transfiguration and the scriptures which we read of the mountain transfiguration that we have not yet received. And this day, I think we can receive this into our hearts. And one day we will get the full scriptures, the full revelation. And, these days are dawning upon us. We don't know what God is doing because it depends on our iniquity and it depends on his judgment. He's just going to bless us and cast the devil down more. The more the devil revolts, the more he blesses the earth and he goes down. So, life will be but a fairy tale. That's what we have to look forward to. So, I just wanted to share that with you. Really cool. Thanks for tuning in. Allah bless you.